Hey, Tommy from the Run Testers with another running shoe versus. In this one, we're going to be looking at two New Balance shoes, the New Balance 1080 V14 and the New Balance Rebel V4. Let's see what we all thought. Yeah. The New Balance 1080 V14 costs £160 or $164.99. It weighs 287 grams or 10.1 ounces for men in a size 8 and the drop is 6mm. The New Balance Rebel V4 costs £140 or $139.99. It weighs 207 grams or 7.3 ounces for men in a size 8 and the drop is 6mm. The New Balance 1080 V14 is a daily shoe built for comfort and accessibility. In the previous version of the shoe, New Balance modified the Fresh Foam X midsole to be noticeably softer, but with that came a dip in the stability and the versatility of the shoe. The 1080 V14 addresses that with a slightly firmer version of the foam and the overall midsole geometry. In addition, there's an updated engineered mesh upper to improve the fit and provide better breathability. That also includes a good level of padding as well as a soft, gusseted tongue. On the outsole is a modest layer of rubber across the key areas of the shoe, although this doesn't cover the full length of the midsole foam. The New Balance Rebel V4 is a daily shoe that's designed for faster training while still providing plenty of cushioning. The FuelCell foam is a PEBA EVA blend that offers a soft ride as well as a good level of propulsion with a geometry that's taller and wider than its predecessor. The upper is a breathable mesh that uses the brand's Phantom Knit technology to ensure a supportive fit with a good level of padding around the ankle collar. On the outsole is a generous layer of rubber across the forefoot as well as strategically placed sections to the rear of the shoe.
So in terms of these two shoes, I definitely think it's a story here of how sizing can vary across New Balance's shoes. Now, the 1080 V14 very much is a true to size fitting shoe for me. I've got it in a UK size 8. That is my standard size. Now, the Rebel V4 landed for me in an 8.5, and actually, despite having concerns that maybe it might be a little bit long for me, actually having an 8.5 has worked out very well, and I think feasibly for a lot of people going half a size up in this shoe should make it a better fit overall. It's a bit of a similar story to the SC Elite V4, which I had in a size 8 and worked well for me, used it for the London Marathon, a lot of my training runs. I think, it wouldn't have hurt going half a size up in it for me. And if you were a little bit in between sizes or half sizes in the SC Elite V4, I think, it would be a similar story here with the Rebel V4. So for me, the 1080 V14, the more padded shoe and the more true to size fitting shoe. The Rebel V4, a lot more like the SC Elite V4 in terms of that upper, in terms of that kind of more racing profile. And I would go half a size up based on my running time.
So I think for me in these two shoes, I'm a size 8 in the UK. These are both size 8s. 1080 V14, very comfortable shoe, plenty of space in the forefoot, plenty of space before the big toe. I found it to be a very comfortable shoe. I've got average width feet and I've had no issues with this shoe at all. Definitely wouldn't have it in a different size. The New Balance Rebel V4, the fit on this is a little bit different. It's a faster shoe, it's a little bit leaner. The upper is not as structured as the 1080 V14, so you end up with this sort of soft, looser fit to the upper. I've not had any problems with it. I found it very comfortable, and as a result it's a bit stretchy as well, so you can sort of press your toes against it and it will move out. But I've found a similar fit in both these shoes, but I would say it's a little bit more restrictive in the Rebel V4, so just take that into consideration. But I would say to my size in both of these shoes. Okay, some of you might look at this versus and say that these two shoes aren't necessarily that comparable, but they are both daily shoes. They do fit into a similar category, and for some people it might be difficult to choose between these two shoes based on the information that you get from the brands and that sort of thing. The 1080 V14 is a shoe that's predominantly designed for ticking off the miles. It's a daily shoe that isn't the most versatile daily shoe out there. It's not bad. It's a shoe that really is a cushioned daily shoe that's designed for doing all your miles in. So whether you're going out and doing a 5k recovery run, whether you're going out to do a 20k comfortable run, easy run, consistent pace run, it's fine for those things. It's a shoe there that's just designed to eat up the miles. It's not really designed to do much more, and it does that very, very well. It's a very comfortable shoe. It has a nice balanced midsole. It's an update from the midsole that was in the 1080 V13, and the 1080 V13 was very, very soft, and some people didn't like that. It meant it was less stable and wasn't great for some people, whereas the 1080 V14 very stable, great platform on it, a good balanced midsole. It's a little bit firmer than the 1080 V13. As a result, much more accessible to a lot more people who maybe need a little bit more stability and a little bit more responsiveness. It's definitely a shoe that you can use for faster sessions than the 1080 V13, but I wouldn't use this for intervals or anything like that at my speed. I would use it purely for ticking off the miles, hour-long runs, 10Ks, 15Ks, that sort of thing, where I'm just going out and I just want a comfortable shoe that does the job. It's sort of a holiday shoe. If you took it away, you could do a bit faster sessions in it, but I definitely wouldn't pick this specifically to do those sorts of runs with. The New Balance Rebel V4 is a shoe that is designed for faster daily training. It's a very comfortable shoe. I actually quite like this shoe for easy runs. It's a much softer midsole than you get in the 1080 V14. It is lighter than 1080 V14. It just, as a result, it's a lot quicker, it's a lot poppier. That midsole, for me, it really caps out at about 15K. I do find it a little bit too squishy for me, and I wouldn't want to do longer sessions in this unless I was running really fast in this shoe. But yeah, it's a little bit squishier in the midsole. It's definitely a shoe that's designed for really picking up the pace. It excels when you're doing interval sessions, tempo sessions, fartlek sessions, anything like that, where you want to pick up the pace and you want a lighter shoe on the feet, but you still want a bit of comfort in it as well. I think the Rebel V4 is more versatile than the 1080 V14 if you're going up to a certain distance. I definitely think you'll get a lot more miles out of the 1080 V14. It's definitely a more solid, stable shoe that you can tick off a lot of miles. Rebel V4, I exclusively use this shoe for shorter efforts where I may need to go faster. And when I mean faster, I mean training pace. I use this shoe for picking up the pace to 4-minute kilometers, that sort of thing, where I'm actually training for a race or training to improve my speed. This is a good shoe to go for, especially if I'm not looking to use a plate for any reason, or if you're looking at buying a training shoe and you don't want to have a plate in it. This is a really, really good option. Definitely a great shoe for running faster in. As I said, I actually like running in doing slower miles in this, recovery miles, easy runs up to a certain distance. I actually think the Rebel V4 is very good for those. So both daily shoes, but for different reasons. The outsole on these, even though they come from the same brand, the outsole on the Rebel V4, it does have really good rubber coverage on the front of the shoe, not a lot on the back. And this FuelCell midsole is a little bit exposed in those areas. I've done about 70k in this shoe so far, and it's not really got any major signs of wear or tear because this rubber is pretty good and it sticks out quite far. Bit of wear on the actual rubber itself. I always rub down that section there, but still looking pretty good. 1080 V14 has outsole is absolutely fine, but there's a lot of exposed midsole foam on it. In about 70k running, I've not really seen any wear or tear on the midsole because it's got a pretty good layer of rubber on it, but I definitely think the outsole on the Rebel V4 is better.
So in terms of my running time in these two shoes, I say it's been very good overall. These are very much daily trainer style shoes, but these are daily trainers with definitely very different profiles. I would say, different runs I would ultimately use them for. There maybe is a little bit of overlap, but ultimately I think they are very different in terms of those kind of daily trainer profiles. Now, one of the big reasons for that is the difference in the weights. The New Balance Rebel V4 is significantly the lighter of the two shoes. The weight is more in keeping, getting towards racer style shoes. So from that point of view, if you want something that feels a little bit more sprightly to run in, it's going to be the Rebel V4. Now, a 1080 V14 isn't a heavy shoe per se, particularly for a kind of max cushion shoe, but ultimately if you want the lighter shoe, then the Rebel V4 is going to give you that. And then when you get into the midsoles and what you're going to get from them and what they're ultimately going to deliver, for me, the Rebel V4, getting out running in this shoe, you've got that FuelCell midsole on there, which is a mix of EVA and PEBA. So you're getting something from those kind of more racing focused shoes, something a bit more lively, bouncy, a little bit more aggressive. The rocker is a little bit more aggressive there. I've always found I've got out in this shoe, it's really wanted to kind of push me forward, from heel to toe a lot quicker compared to the 1080 V14, which has the Fresh Foam X, which has very different properties, and very different kind of roles. Ultimately, it's about protection and comfort. It's probably, has a plusher feel to it as well too. It's not too firm on the Rebel V4 either, but it's definitely got a bigger stack there as well of that foam. And it's really about kind of, as I said, providing that protection and comfort ultimately. What I think ultimately does is going to be something that's going to be comfortable over those easy runs, over those recovery runs. It'd be a good kind of run to run longer in as well too, probably more so than the 1080 V13. You know, there is a rocker in here. It's a more gentle rocker than the one in the Rebel V4, but it's just enough to kind of help you tick over in this shoe. And as I said, you know, if you are looking for something or a daily trainer where, you know, you really want something that's just going to help you kind of cover that mileage, and that is a shoe, you know, the 1080 V14 will do that. The Rebel V4 just feels a more kind of outwardly kind of faster shoe, a more up-tempo shoe. I think a shoe maybe doesn't feel as comfortable as the 1080 V14 running a little bit longer. Maybe you want a little bit more in that midsole to kind of protect, but ultimately it could run or work for kind of moderate to kind of long distances ultimately. But I think for me, it's kind of those shorter distances, those kind of shorter, faster sessions as well too. That's where it's really excelled for me. From a kind of outsole point of view, I think you probably, you know, you're going to get a little bit more out of the 1080 V14. They're kind of covering the same types of areas ultimately in terms of their outsoles. The grip has been absolutely fine for me in kind of wetter conditions as well too. But I think if I was going off-road on lighter trails, I'd feel more comfortable doing it in the 1080 V14. So as I said, I think these are daily trainer shoes that, you know, go about their business in very different ways. I think if you stick to the types of runs that they work for, then they can be very effective in that kind of respect. But I think ultimately, if you are looking for a more comfortable shoe, particularly over longer distances, I think the 1080 V14 is going to give you that and give you a nice feeling to kind of roll you through those runs as well too. The Rebel V4 is the more faster feeling shoe, feels like a more of a companion to the SC Elite V4, taking the pressure running in that shoe and doing some of your sessions in this shoe and giving you it from a kind of lighter profile as well.
Okay, my verdict on these two shoes. Said it in the run test section that they're not necessarily designed for the same thing, but you can use them for pretty similar things. I think it really comes down to the sort of running that you're doing. If you are, if your daily miles generally are quite fast, you're doing a lot of interval sessions in a week, you're doing faster sessions, you want something to go shorter, faster to really pick up the pace. Rebel V4 is definitely the shoe to go for. If you're doing a lot of longer sessions, if you're doing loads and loads of miles at a really comfortable, easy pace, which for me would be about 5 minute kilometers, go for the 1080 V14. It's just a very solid shoe, very stable, great for ticking off loads and loads of miles. I'm marathon training at the moment. I've used this quite a lot for just churning out miles basically at a nice consistent pace. Very good for that, and I think it's a lot more accessible to more people. But if you're looking for versatility, you're not going to get a lot of that from the 1080 V14. You're probably going to be looking at the Rebel V4 if you're the sort of runner that actually wants to have a shoe that you can pick up the pace properly in and do real training sessions at a faster pace. But when it comes to things like durability and stuff, I have a feeling that the 1080 is just going to be far better because the midsole on the Rebel V4 is a little bit squishy for me, and I can feel it being less dense than the 1080 V14.
So my takeaway, whether you should go for the New Balance 1080 V14 or the New Balance Rebel V4. As I said, these are shoes that are very different for me and I would use them very differently. I think it really depends on what you want from a daily trainer style shoe. If you want something that has a more of an up-tempo edge, and definitely is one for kind of shorter, sharper sessions and also for slightly longer runs as well too, and you want the lighter shoe, a more lively shoe, I'd be going for the Rebel V4. If you're a little bit concerned about having a shoe that maybe is that little bit more aggressive and more kind of propulsive in terms of that ride, and you want something that can still work for kind of more comfortable running, can be a bit more equipped or better equipped at those longer runs in terms of protection, then I would be going for the New Balance 1080 V14. But if I had to pick between the two shoes, I think I've just had more fun in the Rebel V4. While it probably lacks a little bit more for those longer runs, I think for those daily runs and the runs that I'd be going, you know, from kind of 5k, 10k, 15, 20k, this is a shoe that I think works very well at those kind of distances, and I think for faster paces as well too. As I said, the 1080 V14 is not a bad shoe, but if I had to pick, I'd be going for the Rebel V4, which is actually cheaper as well, and I think you're going to get a lot more value out of this shoe, particularly if you want a more up-tempo daily trainer in your rotation. That's everyone's on this Versus. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, click that little bell, and if you're going to catch me below, you can find a link to our podcast, which comes out a couple of times each month. Thanks a lot for watching. Catch you next time.